The San Diego Incident. InGen's San Diego ambitions didn't stay contained to the island. The adult T-Rex arrived in San Diego on a ship full of dead crew. Then it walked into the city like it was scouting new territory. From its point of view, that's exactly what it was doing. InGen had managed to transport a living adult T-Rex across the Pacific to California, a terrifying logistical achievement. No one had a real plan for what happened if it woke up early. The Tyrannosaurus crushed a bus, tore through a neighborhood, and showed its baby how to hunt, all before being recaptured by Malcolm and Sarah Harding, who used the juvenile as bait. It is absurd because one bad shipping decision became a city-wide dinosaur attack. InGen wanted a zoo attraction, failed to prepare the transport safely, and ended up dropping an adult T-Rex into the heart of an American city. San Diego should have been the final warning. Stop the program forever. Sabotage on Isla Sorna. But InGen did not learn from Nublar. 4 years later, they repeated the mistake on Site B. InGen acted as if Jurassic Park failed because of the island, not because of the idea. Site B was where InGen had bred the dinosaurs before moving them to Nublar. The plan was simple. Send a team of mercenary hunters to capture healthy dinosaurs and ship them to a new zoo-style attraction in San Diego. The plan had exactly one blind spot. Nick Van Owen, an activist embedded in the expedition. He spent the night opening the cages. Not some of them, all of them. Dozens of dinosaurs, Stegosaurus, Triceratops, Parasaurolophus, stormed back through the camp. The hunters instantly became the hunted. The initial breakout. Jurassic Park collapsed because of one angry employee and a fake can of shaving cream. Dennis Nedry, the park's chief programmer, felt underpaid and betrayed. He accepted $750,000 from Biosyn to steal fertilized embryos. To escape, he shut down the island's fences, communications, and containment systems in one move. In minutes, the park went from controlled attraction to open hunting ground. What followed was one of cinema's most famous chain reactions. The T-Rex crossed a fence it had always been trained to fear. The velociraptors understood the fences were dead before any human realized it. Tim and Lex were trapped in the open paddock, helpless inside a car. Malcolm had warned them, life finds a way. Nedry simply opened the door. The terrifying part is how simple the cause was. One angry employee. InGen built the world's most advanced containment system, then trusted it to one man. The real monster wasn't a dinosaur. It was a system that depended on the loyalty of one underpaid man. The Indominus Rex escape. By the time Jurassic World opened decades later, InGen's mistakes had evolved into something far more deliberate. The Indominus Rex was Jurassic World's first escaped hybrid, and looking back, its escape feels almost inevitable. It was raised alone with no normal instincts to guide it. It also had cuttlefish DNA, allowing it to hide its thermal signature. It learned to hide before the staff even knew it could. When the staff entered the enclosure to check whether it had escaped, it was already waiting on the other side of the wall. The escape wasn't an accident. It was an intelligent animal with nothing to do except study its prison. The park fell apart piece by piece. Areas were evacuated, the aviary was breached, and even the trained raptors turned on their handlers. Roughly 22,000 visitors had to be evacuated from a theme park running at full capacity. The worst disaster any theme park could imagine. Responsibility here is uncomfortably shared. Dr. Henry Wu designed the Indominus without a proper plan for how it would behave. Park management approved the project without questioning whether a predator built for shock value should exist at all. And InGen knew the animal had potential military applications, letting the project continue even after clear signs of unstable behavior. Every other disaster on this list came from a mistake. This one came from a design choice. The eruption of Mount Sibo. Not every disaster needed human error to begin. Mount Sibo is the only disaster here not triggered by one direct human mistake. That makes it more unsettling. The island erupted because volcanoes erupt, and InGen had built a park on an active volcanic island with no backup plan for the single most obvious scenario imaginable. The result was one of the franchise's most haunting images. Dinosaurs running in panic alongside the humans as lava advanced. The Brachiosaurus left on the pier became the symbol of the entire franchise's ethical question. It asks one painful question: what do humans owe the creatures they created? Thousands of animals died in the eruption. An entire species vanished again after being brought back from extinction. At its core, the Mount Sibo disaster is the bill for 30 years of mismanagement, all coming due at once. The crash on Site B. Years later, the lesson still hadn't landed. Literally. Jurassic Park 3 begins with a lie. Paul and Amanda Kirby pretend to be rich adventure tourists, then illegally land on Site B. They hired Alan Grant for an aerial tour, then used it as cover to search for their missing son. The plane collided with a Spinosaurus on a rough landing area, and every disaster after that came from one choice: landing. Cooper was abandoned first, proving how quickly the group's survival instincts turned selfish. The Spinosaurus chased the plane until it crashed into the forest, and the survivors spent the following days hunted across the island. They faced the Spinosaurus, raptors, and the Pteranodon aviary, one of the most trapped and terrifying scenes in the series. And underneath the chaos was Eric Kirby, a child surviving alone on the island, the locust plague. By the next film, the danger didn't need a mansion, an island, or even a dinosaur. The locust plague in Jurassic World Dominion is the quietest and most global disaster on this list, the only one that doesn't involve a dinosaur escaping an enclosure. Biosyn had developed giant genetically modified locusts with prehistoric DNA. They were designed to destroy competitors' crops while leaving Biosyn's own seeds untouched. It was a biological weapon disguised as scientific research, designed to force the world to rely on Biosyn's food supply while destroying food production everywhere else. The plan was cruel, precise, and terrifying. But like every system built on false control, what Biosyn planned and what nature did were completely different. The swarms spread far beyond their planned targets. For once, the danger was not one escaped dinosaur. It was hunger spreading across continents. The illegal auction. But the eruption wasn't the end of the danger. For some people, it was an opportunity. Eli Mills gathered the world's richest and least ethical buyers at a California mansion. The product was rescued dinosaurs. The showpiece was the Indoraptor. The Indoraptor was an incomplete prototype, created before Wu believed it was behaviorally stable. Mills knew this and put the animal on display anyway, because the auction needed a moment of impact. What happened next is the most predictable consequence in the franchise's history. The Indoraptor escaped, and a mansion full of billionaires with zero survival training turned into a hunting ground. What sets this disaster apart is that the danger was bigger than the mansion. Had the auction gone through, the Indoraptor and other predators would have been sold to governments and private organizations around the world as biological weapons. This was not a park failure anymore. It was the beginning of a dinosaur arms race,